I can be nasty because there's I acknowledge there's different ways to be powerful.
I can be nasty because I love to lift heavy weights, but I refuse to not have fancy claws.
Fair enough. All right, let's just do it. It always turns out great when we don't.
I think we're actually doing it now.
Are we?
Are we doing it right? Is this the podcast?
I think this might be the podcast.
Is this the podcast?
Okay, I'm Erin Brown.
And I am Nick Arfanuni.
And you're listening to Nasty Women Radio, wherein today we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman and femininity and whatever else pops up. Always an interesting talk with you, Nick. So we both saw Wonder Woman recently. What did you think?
Okay. Mostly super positive response from me.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the movie as a whole. I cried a bunch during
When did you cry?
I cried during the scene when she crossed no man's land and took all the fire so that the men could cross.
Yeah.
Because she was basically like, I got this.
Yeah.
And
Screw you
like
guys.
went. I just started crying. I thought cinematically it was really spectacular.
Mm-hmm. The director's actually from Lawrence, Kansas.
And a woman.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
Mm-hmm.
I was really nervous going in because I had this really strong feeling that like this movie has to crush. Like it absolutely has to crush. It's the first superhero movie to center a female character. It's directed by a woman, and the sociopolitical landscape as it stands currently, we can't afford for this movie to not crush. Like,
right, which isn't that whack. I saw this amazing meme that was like, we will really have made progress when there can be a superhero movie about women that sucks and it's no big deal.
And it's fine.
Because there's plenty of superhero movies that suck. They weren't I guess we can't have male superheroes anymore.
Suicide Squad was absolute garbage, and the only good thing about Suicide Squad was Harley Quinn.
Oh.
So,
I didn't see it.
She crushed it. Yeah.
Lola lost a tooth during Wonder Woman, so that was cool in the theater.
Wow. Yeah. She was just so pumped.
So pumped, just teeth flying out of her mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were talking just a little bit beforehand, but I was reading ahead of time that, what is her name? What's her name?
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot has some controversy around her, and I just want to mention it because I think that it's important, and also not spend a lot of time on it because I don't want to speak out of turn on something that I know so little about. And I spent a good amount of time like following up on terms and trying to like learn about what I was reading, and it's just I still don't feel like I have a leg to stand on in terms of like here's a position I can take on this or even explain it. But she, I guess, fought in the Israeli army. And then there's a picture that she posted on Instagram sending love to fellow Israeli citizens who are protecting her country against horrific acts. And that was a weekend that almost 500 children and 300 women died on the Gaza Strip because of the Israeli army. So this is like an Israel-Palestinian conflict, and where she stands on it because of her religious beliefs, I believe, is being called into question. And so some of the articles I'm reading are like, she's a white feminist hero because we have her on screen ending this world war, and then in real life taking a position that a lot of people think isn't okay. And I'm dancing around it because I just want to be honest in that I don't know enough about any of this to say much. And so I would, if that is of interest to you, and I hope that it is, I would
look into it.
Yeah, look into it. Look up some articles, do some reading. We aren't going to talk very much about her. I mean, that was the first I'd ever heard about her personal life in any way. We're just going to talk about the movie, but it would feel like a miss to me not to mention that there's a lot of people that are very upset that she got to play the role.
We don't, here at Nasty Women Radio, we don't want to ignore the messy conversations. So that's not something that we're willing to just ignore and pretend like it's not a thing.
Or jump into it not knowing what the fuck.
Exactly. We're just putting it out there.
Yes.
We recognize that this is a thing. And, you know, this is the first I heard of it, too, because we were talking before the show. I don't know anything about her as an actress. because I didn't actually care. I was just excited about Wonder Woman. So like, I didn't like, do a deep dive into, Gal Gadot. I watched a couple of interviews with her about her training for the movie. And I was interested in that from a physical standpoint because my background is in fitness. So I was like, cool. But like personally, I don't know anything about her because she's not my hero.
Right.
Wonder Woman is.
What did you learn about her training?
She was just talking about how intense it was and how, I don't know. I don't know why she didn't have any muscles in the movie if her training was so intense.
Maybe they worked on long, lean muscles.
Long, lean, maybe Pilates. No, she did. I mean, that's her body type. Let's not body shame her. That's her body type.
I just wanted to say long, lean muscles.
Long, lean. It's always nice to say. No, I'm sure that's just her body type. I'm sure that's just how she develops. And I'm also sure that in Hollywood, they were like, let's make sure she doesn't get too big.
Yeah, that was my thinking.
Why does that still have to be a conversation?
Right. And her body can look however it needs to.
However it needs to. And I think that as somebody who, was in the Israeli, Israeli, what do they call their army? God, I'm going to sound like such an idiot right now. I have no idea. But there's a name for it. Israeli Defense Force. Israel Defense Forces. She's probably kind of a badass physically. You kind of have to be. And she was talking about like how intense the training was and how she really enjoyed like, the aspect of getting stronger and all this other stuff. And so that's just how her body develops. But, I think on some level, I'd like us to start seeing, and I think we did see it in like the Amazons, there were different bodies, and I think that it's important for us to see some representation there. There was, representation with women of color, finally, which was great. I was really happy to see that. And, I thought she crushed it. I don't care about her personally. I care about Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Robin Wright.
Oh my God. You know what I said? I said to my friend, I looked over at my friend who's a filmmaker. And so we're like both big movie buffs. And I said, she finally made up for Buttercup. Oh. I was so happy. She did it. She finally made up for Buttercup.
Well, I've been watching her on House of Cards, and so it feels to me like she's just everywhere right now.
She's so amazing on House of Cards. No, she fucking crushed it. Robin Wright was a total badass in that movie.
I love her as a badass.
I was so into her as that character. I think she owns that so much more than the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was awesome. But The Princess Bride was her breakthrough role. That was her first film.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, introducing Robin Wright. Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
So when we were watching it, I went with a couple of my lady friends, and one of them sitting next to me was her initial reaction after it ended was that she was pissed that it was the guy. Okay, so we're spoiling things. Don't listen if you
haven't seen the movie
or you care about spoilers.
Just for the next maybe 60 seconds.
Yeah,
I feel like we have to say that because then people are going to be like, "Oh, you ruined it."
So when he dies, then she gets like this surge of power because she loves him and she whatever, But she was like, "Why does that have to be what?" And I'm like, "Well,
be about the guy."
Yeah, but it was her love that made her powerful, but it still was to do with the guy.
It still did.
I feel like they could have taken a cue from, what's it called? The Frozen, where you think that it's the guy that's going to come save her. Frozen spoilers. And it's her sister. So, like, if she thought of, like, her mom and her aunt that passed, you know what I mean? That could have been cool, but it had to be the guy. But I did cry a bunch then. I mean, it got me. It got me.
But you know what? That was actually while that scene was happening, that was my exact reaction. I was like, why does it have to be about him? And how does she already love him?
Right.
Because he was the first man she'd ever seen, maybe? He is Chris Pine. I would probably love him, too.
I kind of feel like I already do.
I kind of do. Chris Pine is my favorite of all the Chris's.
He's really cute.
He's my favorite Chris. I love him as James T. Kirk.
In what?
In the Star Trek movies.
Oh, I've never seen the Star Trek movie.
Girl, get on it. Chris Pine is so hot in those movies. And the girl, what's her name, plays Zoe Saldana's in it, and she's a total badass.
Oh
yeah.
I also didn't love the like Little Mermaid sort of vibe. And I get that it was because she's like from this island.
Because she was like, "What's that? What
is this?
It was kind of cute. It was cute when she saw a baby for the first time, though.
That was cute. But like the being like wicked smart, knowing all these languages, more powerful than all the men, and then also like in terms of modern amenities is completely ignorant. I'm like, do they have? I mean, is it cute that she's dumb? Is that what we're doing? Or I don't know. I mean, I get it. I get the premise, but I also was like, why does that have to be? It was a
fish out of water. Yeah, it was definitely a fish out of water element.
Yeah, but she was like gonna brush her hair with a fork in a minute, like
a dingle hopper. Yes, and so there are criticisms, but here's the thing that I try to be really careful of is like if we're going to criticize it, like we need to criticize it fairly. Yeah. Right. Like. Because there is a small part of me that is like, don't criticize it. This is our movie.
Well, and that's the problem. That's the problem when you get one. Yeah, when you get one, then there's so much that it's not going to nail. You know what I mean? Like so was she cast right? Why wasn't Wonder Woman a black woman? Like what? There's all kinds of things that are fair to look at, but the problem is that there's one. Yeah. It's like in the movies when there's one black character in a film and then everybody's like, why does the black person have to be like this? And it's like, well, the problem is that there's one black person. And so regardless of how that person was, what that character was made to be like, is not going to be great because it's one trying to represent a whole bunch of people that is not going to happen well. Exactly. So those were just the things I was thinking watching it. Like, okay, does she have to?
They're really, yes. The cool thing was, I would say as a whole, like walking away from it, I have some small criticisms, but for the most part, I was very happy with the representation. I thought the movie just generally crushed as a movie.
It was a great movie.
It was a great movie. And so I think that's what's really important is that like people are going to walk away, maybe not people who are having the same conversations as us and are just going to be like, that was a joke movie. And I think that that's really important. I think that's really important for women moving forward. I think that we still have a lot of work to do, but it's really great that this first like major thing was something that was cinematically, well done. It was beautifully directed. The fight scenes were fucking incredible.
Like the whole Matrix, like,
oh
I'm
my
on my
God.
back, but I'm kicking and throwing knives. Like, what?
The first fight scene where the women all came down to the beach to fight the Nazis. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. And the fact that they didn't have guns. They had bows and arrows and knives and swords and horses, and they didn't hesitate and they just charged and they were so badass and they worked together the way that they worked together, the teamwork. It was really incredible. So I think walking away, it's like yes, I have criticisms and they're fair criticisms. But I think that on the whole, being able to walk away and be like, that was a success for women. I'd say that would be my like final sort of point would be like, yes, on the whole, if we have to say like, like was it a success or not? I would say, that it was a success for women.
Yeah, I think,
despite some criticisms.
Yeah. Yes. And we have to be able to criticize stuff that comes from women, then otherwise we end up with like that was a conversation during the election about Hillary. Like, every piece of criticism she received that wasn't about her appearance or her husband, I thought was fair. She was just the most fairly criticized politician, in my opinion, that we've ever had. Right. So, critique.
Absolutely.
Something we can learn from Wonder Woman is that those women worked together and were prepared to fight because they had been preparing to fight, which is something that we don't actually do with girls in our culture, is prepare them for sexism, prepare them for misogyny.
They've been bred.
What are the fight moves? They were ready. They were like, oh, yeah.
They trained every day.
I'm going to mess you up now with my bow and arrow skills.
Absolutely. So I think that is definitely a huge lesson, that like that work ethic and that commitment to a cause. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they trained it regularly and they were all united in that one purpose. So I really enjoyed that as well.
Also, I read that it was a bunch of just like female athletes that they cast in the Amazon. Yeah. That's so cool.
So really cool thing. Ann Wolfe, who played Artemis. She was the very like strong, like badass, like looking Black woman who not afraid to take up space physically or mentally or emotionally was really cool. And Wolfe is like a world class boxer. That's who awesome. has held titles in multiple weight classes simultaneously. She's a total fucking badass. So that was cool. That was a win on multiple levels. And it was just nice to see that representation from somebody, like from actual athletes.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's cool that they got athletes instead of, you know, models that did some training beforehand or something. Like, like athletes exist. We should cast athletes.
Women are strong.
Right.
Women are strong. And you know what? When I walked away from it, I was thinking about, you know, like I'm always writing stories in my head, which I'm sure you are too. When you're a writer, you see story opportunities and everything is a story. And I'm always writing in my head. And I was writing in my head as I'm watching the movie, thinking about how would I write about this movie. And the thing that came up for me is that we need to stop saying women can be strong.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a thing that you're seeing, like, and you're seeing that a lot with, you know, Wonder Woman coming out. A lot of people are promoting this women can be strong too rhetoric.
Yeah.
And I get that comes from a good place. But as we know here on Nasty Women Radio, intention is not always the most, you know, the most important thing. So I get that that's coming from a good place, but I think it would be really great for us to try to change that rhetoric from women can be strong too to women are strong.
Yeah.
Women can be powerful too, to women are powerful.
Have you seen the stuff about the new Snow White movie?
I haven't. Is it bad? I want it to be good.
It's bad.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go from here, but the premise is that when Snow White undresses and in the like preview clips, all of the dwarves are like watching her undress, like wait, that's like so skeevy. It's all skeevy. But when she takes her clothes off, then it turns out she's really like fat. And so how does the story change if she's not beautiful is like the rhetoric around it.
Well, that could be good.
Maybe. But I mean, that's also saying that like large isn't beautiful.
No, but I would love it so much if she was just fat and it was never talked about.
But that's the whole premise of the movie.
I just want her to be fat.
That would be fine.
And she's still just Snow White and she's amazing.
That would be fine. But the whole thing is like, oh my gosh, isn't this mind blowing? What if she was fat? And fat as in not beautiful.
I hate that.
I
like that. I think that's great.
Yeah, that would be fine.
I don't like that now it changes the story though.
I don't know how it changes the story, but that's the entire premise. So there's these huge like things at the movie theater now that have like her taking one shoe off and she has a large leg and it's like, what happens next? And I'm like, oh my God, Lola, look away.
Maybe nothing happens though. Maybe that's just the marketing.
It's awful marketing. I don't want to explain that to my kid.
Marketing in general though, for the most part, that's how you get people to pay attention. It's sad that we just keep playing into that, but you know, that's part of why you and I do what we do. And so many of the, you know, amazing women that we know who are doing work entrepreneurially are doing the work that they're doing. We're all taking a cut. We're all taking a major pay cut every single day because we choose to show up in our integrity for, you know, women in every possible way without marketing to pain points, without, you know, like shock marketing. You know, we just refuse to do that. And I think that, you know, we just have to, more of us have to just keep doing that.
Right. But it's just so, it's discriminatory, really. I mean, it's not like a plot point. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Damn it. Damn it.
I'm into it now. I'm into it. I want to know what's up. I want to know what's up with it. Oh, man. That's too bad. Well, okay. So.
What else about Wonder Woman that I really liked, by the by, is when she walked in and saw the corsets and was like, this is what passes for armor here. I was like, yes.
Yes. This is your armor? Yeah. I loved that that she was like in the dress and she was just like, how do you fight in this?
Yeah.
And she just could. And then she like basically opted for, and this is an interesting segue into our conversation about being feminine today. Mm-hmm. She opted for the least feminine, and I'm doing air quotes for those of you listening on iTunes and not watching us on YouTube, the least feminine of the, you know, wardrobe choices. She went for something that was traditionally more masculine. And I think it is important to note that we are talking about a different time period.
Yeah.
And so obviously social constructs were a lot more overt during that period of time, while now things are a little bit more internalized.
We're allowed to wear pants.
Which in some ways I think is kind of a little bit more insidious.
Yes.
Because there is this overarching sort of, well, women are equal now, and so we don't have any more work to do, and and it's like there is still this idea of what is feminine and what is not feminine, and a woman's expectation to be feminine or quote ladylike. Right. These are still things that we do have to deal with on a daily basis. They're just not as overt in that if you see a woman walking down the street wearing pants and not a petticoat, you're not like, what the fuck is she doing? Right. It's not like a crazy thing to see anymore.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me. And I liked that, she was just like, I'm a total badass and this is my, and I'm like, my purpose is to fight.
Yeah. Well, and she got badass when she took her clothes off, which you could make an argument about either way, but I kind of loved it because she was comfortable. That was her like Amazon uniform. And also like they were all wearing that in a space where it wasn't like, it didn't appear to me that there was any sexualizing happening amongst one another. It was most of the relationships you saw were family relationships. So I don't want to like presume that there aren't lesbian Amazon women, but that's not what we were watching. So, she's like with her family in these outfits, and that was just what they wore there, and that's what she's comfortable in. So the idea of changing her clothes was to cover her, and then when she was ready to go, like show the men how you end a war, she'd strip that all off into the fighting clothes she was comfortable in, which was not much. Yes. Now the converse side of that would be is she being over sexualized, but.
I think they did a pretty good job with that. I didn't think that they over-sexualized her at all. So I think that that's definitely one I would have actually kind of loved if she and Steve had not had a romantic relationship. That actually would have made me really happy. And when I saw that developing, I was kind of bummed out. Doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
If you think about it. So that's kind of unfortunate. I get that that's how people are going to pay attention. But for me, as a feminist, I would have really liked if they didn't, and it was just more of like a teamwork, like partners.
Yeah.
And more of a less of a romantic love. Love could absolutely still have been part of it.
Or what if she left her love on the island and her love was one of those beautiful Amazon women? Yeah. That would have been pretty cool.
That would have been cool too.
It could have had like a Chasing Amy vibe instead of.
Well, but then the argument would be that like, oh, well, we only make a feminist movie about lesbian, right?
It's never gonna be. We need more than one movie.
We need more than one movie so that we don't have to overly critique this one. But the whole idea of like, when she was getting into all these different outfits and she's talking about like, how do I fight in this, and Steve's assistant, who, here we go, another reason why this doesn't pass the Bechdel test, and this is probably really my fault, is I can't remember her name. She was pretty dope though. I liked her character a lot. But she was really intrigued by it, She wasn't just like, oh no, you have to wear something, that is of the time in terms of, femininity. She was into it.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, girl, do your thing, wear whatever you want, and so that was really cool. I really like that. And, it begs the question of like, who gets to decide? Femininity is a social construct.
Right.
It is something that is assigned to women because it's a gender role. And if it is found in heterosexual men, it is considered a negative quality. Mm-hmm. And if it is found in homosexual men, it's a reason for ridicule. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's an interesting construct that I think we have an opportunity to start to redefine and kind of decide what that is for ourselves.
Well, so I think of feminine and masculine as being just energies.
Energetic.
Have
absolutely.
both, what is unfortunate is that we need both, and so we strip it from men. And I think of feminine energy as being empathetic, as being cooperative, as being soft, and the propensity for vulnerability is strength. I mean, there's like a variety of things I think of as being feminine in terms of what that means in leadership and what that means in expression and communication. I think of feminine as being highly communicative, but that being energy that everybody has that's not attached to a gender, and masculine energy as being more, I'm thinking like swords and tarot, but more like definitive, decisive, charge forward, don't pause, which is also useful. Ideally, we're operating with a healthy balance of both energies in us all the time. But yeah, the thing about being feminine, though, if you follow like, let's go old school, which is very similar to what is now, but just let's to move the argument from that's not my experience, and like the traditional feminine is like subservient and dolled up, and dressed in a feminine way, which would be like frilly and dresses or whatever. This like a doll lady,
a doll.
Yeah. Okay. So that's feminine. But if you nail that, then you're stupid and should just follow the lead of a man. Like there's no, it's like the body image thing. It's like there's no way to nail it, even if you believe in it, even if you believe in like, I believe in traditional gender roles, and so that's how I'm acting out. I'm going to act out feminine. You still lose on some level. Like there's no nailing it, because we don't associate feminine things with things like intelligence or power or leadership.
And the thing is that so I think the reason why it is so important to note that our current societal idea of feminine and masculine is a social construct is that that's not our inherent truth.
Right.
That is something that we've created. And from a totally like spiritual standpoint, that on an energetic level, that is something that we all have, and we all have both, and was always kind of valued in more ancient cultures. Men were, traditionally more adorned. Women could fight, women were warriors, or women were, hunters. And if you look at it from a purely biological standpoint, if you look at the animal kingdom, what they're doing, like look at peacocks. The male peacocks are the ones with the beautiful plumes, and the women get to choose. The female peacocks get to choose, and within lions, the lioness is the hunter. So there are a lot of these like traditional gender roles that we have created that are not necessarily our energetic calling. When you think of it metaphysically, male energy is like sun energy, right? And female energy is moon energy. And both of those things do exist in the same 24 hours. And we have to have both of them. We can't have the sun shining all day, and we can't have moonlight.
Right. And one isn't just serving the other. That's not how that works either.
They work together, actually. They actually work together. So
weird.
Isn't it weird how that works?
So weird.
So I think if we can begin to kind of deconstruct that and kind of get back to our roots as energetic beings, and I'm getting a little woo here, but I think anyone who listens to Nasty Woman Radio kind of is into the woo.
At least
a little bit, at least just like a little, just like a mint, a woo mint. Just drop it on your tongue. So, if we can get back to that, as our energetic, nature, then I think that we can start to see for ourselves, like, well, what is feminine for me? What is masculine for me? And how can I work with those two energies and balance them out and know when one needs to be more forward and the other needs to kind of step back. And that was what I actually really loved about Wonder Woman, was that she was powerful and she was a total badass, and she could fight and she could handle her own and she could take care of herself, but she was ruled by empathy and love and compassion. And I really enjoyed that, what we would consider in our modern society as a dichotomy.
Right.
but it doesn't have to be a dichotomy. It can just be that those energies can exist, can coexist in one being. And actually that's pretty fucking fantastic.
I feel like both masculine and feminine all the time in terms of like the way I think of those energies, but physically I present very femme all the time, almost all the time, with the exception of when I don't bother to care for myself in any way, which is not to say that that's masculine, but that's just not putting,
it's just not,
it's not a look, not a look.
It's not a look. It's just,
it's absence of a look. It's PJ.
Absence of look.
But like I usually have feminine sort of makeup, or what we think of as being femme makeup, and I have the long nails done all the time and wear dresses and whatever, but also carry with me a very masculine energy in terms of the way that I set boundaries around myself and the way that I am very clear about what's acceptable and not acceptable in spaces that I have the ability to do that, so I'm not overwhelmingly careful about the way that I use my voice, insofar as like that I'm not going to not say something for fear of ruffling feathers, which we think of as being something that men do and not women. So I mean, we have to be able to do both.
We have to be able to do both.
Yeah, just for anything that you want to do, any job that you want to have, any I don't know. I mean, we have to be able to show up authentically. We have to be able to feel things in a real way. We have to be able to communicate in a real way. Sometimes we have to be able to make clear, concise decisions and move on. Both of those things are necessary. Yeah. Yeah.
I get teased a lot at the gym because I have super long, pointy nails. Fun fact, I rarely take showers, maybe once a week. Twice a week is pushing it, but sometimes it does happen.
Like not even to wash your body?
No, I just use baby wipes if I have dirt on me.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes I wash my armpits in the sink.
Okay, continue.
I just like showers are something that for me, I've noticed they take up a lot of time. My shower ritual is not something that I think I can be fast. During and after the whole situation. And I found that if I get in the habit of taking regular showers, I'm like not actually being very productive otherwise. So, and it's not good for my skin.
Okay.
My skin gets really, really, really dry. And so I just don't. I'm not into it. And I like it. I just like not taking showers. Okay. And you know what I've noticed too, and now we're going a little bit off tangent, but it's just always a funny conversation. But I've noticed that because I don't take showers often, that once or twice a week when I do, it's like a spiritual experience. And I really sort of appreciate it. And I just like stay under the water and like wash my hair. And I'm just like, this is so nice. So I like actually really look forward to it. I do take baths sometimes now. I'm trying to like baths. I'm trying to be more like you. I'm trying. I'm really working on it. It's still not great, but I'm getting there. It's better with the tray. With the bath tray, tray adds a whole level of like, it's super better. Fancy. But so my point being that I don't, like I'm not really like, I'm not taking showers. I'm not washing my hair. But I get my nails done every 2 weeks, like clockwork. And if I have a chip on my nail, I'm like, this aggression will not stand. Yeah. And I like take care of. So I get teased a lot at the gym because I won't jump up to the pull-up bar. Because if I do, I might break a nail. It's happened to me before. Yeah. If I jump up, I might bend a nail back. It's happened to me. So like I will always I'll like rig a little situation that is like the perfect height for me to be able to. Yeah. And everybody kind of just likes to tease me. They're like, haha, Megan her nails. And like the way I have to like pick up plates, I have to like pick up the plates really like in a way, that accommodates my nails. And my answer to that is I'm allowed.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to do pull-ups with sparkly long nails.
Yeah.
I'm allowed. That is my choice for my body.
I have to use utensils to open my LaCroix cans. Because...
Of course you do. You can't risk breaking a nail on a can.
I grew them. Sparkling so like the process of getting one back is
oh my gosh.
lengthy.
I'm actually I think I'm at like a nail PR. This is like the longest I've had nails without breaking them. And I'll tell you what, I'm taking prenatal vitamins.
Oh.
Gummy prenatal vitamins.
Mm.
They're like candy.
Yeah, I have a hair, skin, and nail gummy too, but it's not prenatal. It's just hair, skin, and
Well,
nail.
it's probably just similar. It's just
Is
branded.
that all it is? Like prenatal vitamins are just so that
there's a lot of
your
folic
hair
acid.
looks pretty?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of folic acid.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So my point being that, like, you know, when people respond that way to me, they're just like, it's funny to me that you care so much about your nails, or that you have so many different shades of lipstick, that are all kind of relatively the same shade, just tiny little difference. But you like are okay with just being super dirty. And, you know, I'll walk to the grocery store after I leave CrossFit with like covered in chalk and dirt, and it's like totally fine with me. And I like love being physically strong and powerful. And to be able to balance that with like my more feminine qualities, I think it should be normalized.
It is normal. Like, it's so the problem isn't that you like different things. It's that those things are considered different.
Exactly.
It's not like pull-ups and having your nails done exist in two separate categories of human.
Exactly. But we have decided that, you know, one of those things is masculine and one of them is feminine. And so as a culture, we are conditioned to have this sort of reaction when those things coexist.
Right. You're either a girl or a tomboy, which in and of itself is, you know, is gender binary, but also like, the fuck does that mean? You know? Lola has this magazine she gets sometimes called Girl World. And there was a letter that was written into Girl World that they published about a girl saying to the girls who read Girls World that she was trying to figure out if she was a girly girl or a tomboy, and she realized that she was neither, that she's just the person she is. So if she feels like a girly girl one day or a tomboy the next day, she just does whatever she wants, and that's fine. And I was like, that shouldn't be so damn revolutionary, but thank you, little one. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Like, yes.
Thank you.
Whatever you like.
But it is unfortunate, is that it is revolutionary. I think the issue, there's a lot of layers here with this issue of like feminine, masculine. I think the fact that there are things that are feminine and masculine is fine, because as we discussed, that is energetic. And, you know, those are things that can exist in different levels at any given time based on when those are important qualities that we need to use. And there are times where you need to be more assertive and times where the situation calls for more pause. Yeah. You know, and so it's just a similar thing. I think the issue is that we have decided, number one, that it's not okay for women to be masculine, and it's not okay for men to be feminine.
And that feminine things are weak.
And that feminine things are weak. And that's what I was going to say, even in music. And you probably know about this with your husband being a musician. There's some, I think it's in music with is when a feminine beat is one that traditionally falls on a weak beat. That's how it's described. A weak beat. It's even, you know, considered that way in other schools of work.
Maybe it's a beat that's operating with more nuance.
Exactly. Maybe it's a little bit more mysterious.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not weak. So in French verse, and I'm reading this off the World Wide Web. In French verse, a feminine rhyme is one in which the final syllable is a silent E. So even there, saying that like it's feminine because it's silent. You know, like that's how insidious this idea of feminine versus masculine is. It's embedded in so many different parts of our culture, in so many different things that we do. And I think that like it can actually just be something that exists in both of us. And it doesn't have to be something that we have to choose. It doesn't have to be something that's negative or positive. They're just different energies, you know, that exist for different reasons, and that we shouldn't have to explain why we like to sometimes wear bless you, you know, I shouldn't have to explain why I sometimes like to wear high tops and, you know, snapbacks, backwards, which is one of my uniforms.
Right.
And other times I like to wear lipstick and, cat eye eyeliner.
Right.
And, dress like Stevie Nicks. Like,
yeah,
these are different uniforms that I wear.
Right.
when I want to express different energies, different parts of myself, I get to be all of those things. I'm a total person. I'm a whole person.
And everybody should have that. I mean, I feel like as much as we strip from women and women in the context of gender binary, if we're talking about masculine, feminine, male, female, women are the group there that is oppressed and assumed weak. But I feel like there's so much that we steal from men. And I've been wondering for a long time, like, don't you just want to like put on a little makeup sometimes? Yeah. Like, do you want to have a Stevie Nicks vibe someday?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we got pants, which is cool, but like everybody should get to have all of these forms of expression available to them. I love seeing that there's more male makeup artists that wear full faces of makeup. There's always been male makeup artists, but not necessarily so many that wear makeup themselves, or like more than like a subtle concealer, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah. Like a full peacock eye. Yeah, like a whole thing. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we are in terms of gender norms or gender identity norms, if we can just like obliterate those things. Really curious about where we'll be in 10 years. And then maybe this conversation around what is masculine, what's feminine, how are we allowed to present will be so much easier because we aren't stuck on there only being two genders and such a specific way of them showing up. And Absolutely. Is there any way to avoid religion in this conversation too? I mean, isn't that where a lot of these ideas come from?
Yeah. I mean, it's where a lot of the more puritanical beliefs certainly come into play in a way that's not entirely positive. That's a nice way of saying that.
Yeah, it is a nice way of saying that. Somebody was talking to Jamal before we got married and said something to him about made a passing comment about having like a subservient wife, and he was like, "Oh hell no," which is not what he wanted. But the thing, nothing's off topic anymore. We're talking about marriage and religion now. One of the things that he said at the time that makes so much sense to me is like he didn't want that, but now having been in a relationship with him for 11 years and married for 9.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow. Wow. But there's been so many decisions to be made. There's all this parenting stuff all the time. I'm pointing because she's back behind me somewhere. But I can't imagine leaving all of that responsibility to one person. You know what I mean? So like even this idea of just being subservient and the man as head of household is not necessarily great for men. Like this whole system is not good for any of us. It's clear who gets the oppressive end of it, but it's not great. I don't want to be a subservient wife because I don't want to hand all of that responsibility to my husband, not because he's stupid or because I don't respect his opinion or because I'm a ball buster or want to be in charge, but because big decisions I want to make with somebody who's also thinking thoughtfully about what we should do.
Yeah.
It's not good this shit isn't good for any of us.
It's not good for anyone. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess what it really comes down to is as a nasty woman, or a nasty woman ally, if you are a man listening to the show, because it's come to my attention that after our anal episode, we do have a lot of male listeners.
We do.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting draw.
Well, I actually had a really, really interesting conversation last night with two of my oldest friends who I haven't seen in ages, both men, both friends that I met when I was in the military. And we went out for beers. Traditionally a masculine activity, and we went out for beers, and they intimated to me that like, yeah, we've been listening to your podcast, and I was like, well, that's cool. And they were like, we started because of the anal episode, and I was like, not unsurprising, and we want to have a conversation with you about intersectionality. And they really wanted to learn. They were really like, tell us about this. Tell us about, what does this mean for this new wave of feminism? Like, how is intersectionality come into play? And they had a long conversation about it prior to talking to me about it. And they both kind of stood on opposite ends where they felt like they were arguing about what it meant. And I was like, you're both right. And here's how. It was just
amazing.
Yeah, just to have this like more feminine energy come into it and be like, it doesn't actually have to be an argument. And like, so here's why. And it just ended up being just a really, really, really amazing conversation. And one that I felt really, really blessed to be able to have with two people whom I love and who happen to be men. So we do have male listeners, and men do support nasty women and, you know, are like 100% in this fight with us. Mm-hmm. So I think it is an important conversation. Like, if you're a man and you want to express some feminine energy, like, it's okay for you to cry. I tell my son all the time that it's okay for him to cry. I'm like, but you know, you don't get to cry to get out of something.
Right. Nobody does that. Nobody gets to do that.
It's not a boy-girl thing or a gender thing at all. It's just, you know, there is a time and a place. Like, you want to cry. Sometimes I'm like, if he's just like feeling really some kind of way, I'm like, go to your room and cry. That's cool. And he will. And he'll just cry into a pillow. And I'm like, that's cool, dude. I do it all the time. Yeah. I'm like, you know, kind of just trying to work up that sort of like, it's okay to cry. And not only is it okay, but it's normal and it's encouraged.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you are a man listening to the show and you feel as though you've been not allowed to display traditionally feminine qualities, like, we get that.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, it's a matter of manifesting both energies in multiple ways. And sometimes you just might be someone who leads with one more than the other, you know? And if you're a woman who is outspoken and opinionated, that doesn't necessarily make you masculine.
No. Right. So I think of that as being masculine energy. I don't think of that as being male. And if you're not comfortable with the way I'm talking about that, don't fucking use it. You know? I also refer to Jarrett and Jenny, who I do the I Empower retreat with, are both women that I call warrior archetypes because they're very cut and dry about everything. Yeah. And so that's it's another way to look at another language to use around it. But they're
in the Toltec practices, that it's a warrior goddess is the archetype. So it is but it is about both energies.
Right.
Warrior energy and goddess energy, and needing both in order to be your most effective, and knowing when to lead with one and let the other one kind of fall back. So that's just another, if you're not comfortable with the feminine masculine definitions of it, if that social construct is just like too embedded for you to be able to say, I want to use that terminology, like warrior and goddess are also similar types of things, and they're both traditionally, you know, that's still a traditional feminine archetype.
Yeah, and both powerful. It's not one.
Yeah.
One is more powerful. It's
powerful. Warriors are powerful and goddesses are powerful.
Yeah.
And they just have different qualities that they bring to the table. So I think what it really comes down to is, at the end of the day, what is feminine? Yeah. Does it fucking matter?
Well, in full fucking circle, Wonder Woman was a warrior goddess. What?
Amazing. Well, thank you for listening to Nasty Women Radio and for being a part of this warrior goddess movement. Yeah. We really appreciate you and your listenership. And if you have any questions for us, you can find us at Nasty Women Radio on Instagram, and you can DM us your questions and all of that, or you can email us at nastywomenradio@gmail.com.
Talk to you next time.